Absolutely. So we have 18 species, and they do vary in rarity, and it tends to be that the further south you are, the richer the mosaic of habitats, the warmer, sort of the climates there are, the more species that you have. And as you go up the country, it tends to be the hardier and hardier bats that you find in the more open and places where there's less food, where it's more harsh for them. So where you find them in the UK, it also tends to relate to, so we're thinking about these mammals, they're tiny, tiny little mammals, and they're losing a lot of body heat. So what they want is they want somewhere warm and dry to bring up their young in the summer. They want somewhere cool to hibernate in the winter, because they can drop their body temperature to around 2 degrees, and they'll just wait out the cold periods. So they're looking for a good variety of habitats, good variety of food sources, so they all eat insects. And so the further north you go, the harder it is for them, the harsher it is. So you end up with those more commonly sort of urban species that are a little bit tougher. So like you say, the Pipstrells. So there are actually 3 species of Pipstrell. The common and soprano are found throughout the UK. They're the ones that are about 5 grams in size for an adult bat. And then we have a slightly larger pipistrelle species, the Athesius Pipstro, which we're doing a lot of research work on at the moment, because it's a migratory species. So again, it's only about 7 grams in size, but we're finding that they're making migratory journeys from places like Latvia, so 1,500 kilometers or so that they'll travel. We're ringing them in the UK or in places like Latvia or mainland Europe, and finding them turning up, especially in our large water bodies in our cities. So, and we're finding this information out now. This is sort of brand new information, brand new research that we're doing at the moment, which is quite incredible.
Wow, I excuse my ignorance. I just thought,
No,
I thought birds, that birds were the only thing that ever migrated on the planet, but I didn't realize that there was
yeah.
creatures that did that.
Yeah, and there's been quite a few programs, of Attenborough programs on large migrations of things like fruit bats and stuff in places like Africa, like quite obviously these amazing migrations. But this is actually going on under our nose in the UK, and we're doing a lot of research alongside things like understanding the impacts of offshore wind farms and things like that. So trying to understand where the bats travel, why they travel, where what weather conditions might be more suitable for them. So even for bat species that we know we've got 18 species here at the moment, there's still so much to learn. And one of those species was only recently sort of teased out from another two species, which are sort of cryptic species, very difficult to tell apart. In sort of the last sort of 10 years or so, we've done genetic research, and actually it turns out that there's 3 species there. So still loads to learn about them. And yes, they're nocturnal, so it's trickier to see them, but we're getting loads of great acoustic data. So it's trying to gather information in different ways, trying to see the world in the way that the bats do, and then trying to sort of head them off and find out what they're up to. So yeah, it's in some ways it can be infuriating, because you think you know what you know, and then it's all up in the air. But in other ways, it's a fantastic area to go into, because there's still so much to learn, I think.
Wow. And then so you can see, so by ringing these bats, you can see that their migration route is up to Latvia. Are they following the same sort of path? Have they got excuse my ignorance, a stopover point?
No, this is all stuff we're learning about at the moment. Yeah, there's great questions there. They'll be ringed in, say, the UK. So we do, they like sort of water bodies. So I'm working in London, South London. The parks have got these lovely water bodies. They're almost like a stopping over point for them, for some of them coming over. First point that they land, somewhere to refuel. So we trap them, and you can fit little rings to them, and then they're trapped in various points across mainland Europe, and that's a spread all the way down through sort of Belgium and France, across to Latvia. We think from the work that's being done that they are following that sort of coastline down, and they'll be trapping points along the way and looking for rings, and then trying to work out, is there the next step is there a better way we can harness technology to find out what they're up to. But obviously, we're talking about bats of sort of 7 grams in size, so we're looking at really tiny tech to be able to fit to them. So the work I've done in the past has been fitted little radio transmitters that maybe they'll groom off in a week or so, and going around with with aerials and being asked if I'm looking for aliens and things like
Oh,
that, and trying to find them roosting. But we're now looking at that next step, and there's loads of great technology that they've been using with bird migration to see where birds are going, picking them up basically as they're traveling past radio towers. And so they're now looking at whether they can use similar technology so we can actually map where our bats are going. And once we have this information, and it's just like knowing about bats in the built environment, once you know what they're up to, you can start planning to avoid impacts to them and understand how we can mitigate for them. But one of the biggest issues we have at the moment is there's still all these information gaps, and even with our most common species, we're still learning stuff all the time. So yeah, it's a fascinating area. It's very niche, but it's there's a lot still to learn, which is always interesting.